I want it done today.
My father's always been a tough guy to work for.
It's a custom bike. Sometimes it takes time.
You don't want that.
What do you want me to tell you?
You know, my father had really high expectations for my brother, for certain. Sometimes too high.
Paul Teutul Jr., a master motorcycle builder from American Orange County Choppers, faced a series of personal and professional challenges that deeply impacted his life. His intense rivalry with his father, Paul Sr., led to explosive moments that captivated audiences. We will get to know the real story of Paul Teutul Jr. What hidden struggles did Paul Jr. endure away from the cameras? And now we will uncover the hidden truths, untold stories, and surprising confessions that will make you rewatch the show with different views. The birth of a future bike legend. On the 2nd of October in 1972, the star of American Chopper, Paul Teutul Sr., along with his wife Paula, welcomed their first child into the world. They named him after his dad. At the time, nobody could have guessed that this kid would grow up to be a huge name in the world of motorcycles. Growing up, Paul Jr. got really into his dad's love for bikes, an interest that would shape his future career. He and his siblings, Michael, Kristen, and Daniel, saw their dad's metal shop, Orange County Iron Works, do really well. From a young age, Paul Jr. was right there learning the ropes way before they all became famous from their reality TV show. But little did anyone know the fame and success would soon ignite a fierce rivalry between father and son, leading to a dramatic split that would shock the world. What truly caused the rift that tore the family apart? Stay tuned as we reveal the untold story behind their epic fallout. By the age of 12, Paul started working at his family's shop during the summers, sharpening his skills and quickly becoming known as someone who learns fast. Before he was famous for bending metal and racing bikes, Paul was just a regular kid dreaming about following in his dad's footsteps. He looked up to his dad a lot, although as time went on, their relationship would see a lot of ups and downs, especially once they were on TV. In high school, Paul took his interest in working with metal to the next level by joining a Board of Cooperative Educational Services program, which really boosted his skills. This made him pretty handy to have around the shop, even though it meant he missed out on typical kid stuff. While other kids were traveling or just hanging out, Paul Jr. was mostly at his dad's shop, hanging out with adults and learning the trade. That meant he had to grow up pretty quick. After he finished high school, Paul Jr. didn't go the college route. Instead, he jumped straight into working full-time at the family's steel shop, Orange County Iron Works. Over the years, he worked his way up to running the railing shop, but then things started to change big time. His dad began to get into building motorcycles, which started as just a hobby, but quickly turned into a big business. Although it seemed far off at first, Paul Jr. watched as what started as his dad's side project grew into something huge, and he got into customizing bikes too. Then came a big moment in 1999. Seeing how good his son was with metalwork, Paul Teutul Sr. brought Paul Jr. into his new motorcycle project. That's when Orange County Choppers came to life. Every big company starts with a dream, and in 1999, Paul Teutul Sr. decided to chase his. He branched out from his successful iron business and opened Orange County Chopper at 10 Factory Street in Montgomery, New York. Later, they moved to a bigger place at 27 Stone Castle Road in Rock Tavern, New York. Within 3 years, they became known as one of the top custom bike builders in the country. By December 2002, they had caught the eye of the Discovery Channel. That's when the public got their first look at the lively bunch that made up Paul Teutul Sr. and his crew, including engineers and skilled bike builders. Americans fell in love with the show right away. They loved the drama, the big personalities, and the amazing bikes that were built. For many young people watching, the show sparked a new interest in speeding on bikes and living life on the wild side. American Chopper quickly became more than just a show. It shaped the lives of everyone involved, both in front of the camera and behind it. As Orange County Choppers grew, success came with rising tensions behind the scenes. When passion and family mix, the results can be explosive. The real lives behind the bikes. This show was different from other reality TV shows. The team, which included Paul Teutul Sr., his son Paul Jr., Jason Pohl, Vincent DiMartino, Cody Connolly, Michael Teutul, and more, were not just acting. They were real people with a real passion for building incredible bikes, a passion that went beyond the fame and money the show brought them. It didn't take long for the bike shop to grow from a small space to a massive $12 million, 61,000 square foot custom facility in Newburgh. They owned this place until 2011, when financial troubles made Paul Sr. hand over ownership to avoid losing everything. They managed to keep leasing a big part of it, though. For Paul Jr., Orange County Chopper was more than just a route to fame. It was like a second home. His role as the lead designer and main builder took the business to incredible heights. His creativity and skill in bringing new bike designs to life wowed both the audience and his peers at the shop. But he wasn't just about making cool bikes. His strong presence on the show also made him a star. Even after he left the show, he used his fame to build his own successful business, which is still going strong. The most unforgettable thing that happened on the show, which also led to its end, was a big blowout fight between Paul Jr. and his dad. This fight is now famous, seen in memes and countless videos, but for these two it was more than just a moment of fame, it was real and intense. Join us as we dive deep into the drama of that day, the day everything changed for Orange County Chopper. Everyone knows that mixing family and business often leads to trouble. Paul Teutul Jr. and his father Sr. are prime examples of this. Their shared business venture eventually led to a breakdown in their personal relationship. When we dive into the story of American Chopper, it becomes clear that the tumultuous relationship between Paul Teutul Jr. and Sr. from American Orange County Chopper was a significant chapter. Even before the fiery fight that ended their TV show, the father and son duo were constantly at odds, with many arguments escalating into serious confrontations, putting both their personal and professional relationships at risk. Before celebrities like Kim Kardashian and the Real Housewives grabbed headlines with their dramas, Paul Teutul Jr. and his dad were already known for their fiery disputes. While fans had become accustomed to their on-screen arguments and sometimes even looked forward to the drama, the intense argument in Season 5 turned out to be too much for many. On one particular day, Paul Jr. arrived late to work, igniting severe anger in his dad, who held high expectations for him, just as he did for all his employees. When Paul Jr. casually entered the workplace at 4:28, his dad struggled to contain his fury. The moment Paul Jr. stepped into the shop, his dad called him into the office. Without beating around the bush, Sr. expressed his frustration with his son's chronic lateness. Almost instantly, the discussion escalated into a fierce argument. Sr. didn't hold back, arguing that he shouldn't need to constantly supervise his adult son. The situation quickly spiraled out of control. Instead of trying to see his father's point of view, Jr. also lost his temper. The two started yelling at each other, throwing hurtful words around without considering the impact. It was evident then that the respect they once had for each other had eroded, but things were about to deteriorate even further. As Sr. went through the contract, pointing out every breach by his son, Jr. reached his breaking point, picked up a chair, and threw it across the room. This confrontation ended with Jr. being fired from both the garage and the show. This dramatic incident became legendary, leading to the creation of the widely known argument meme and cementing their feud in the annals of internet fame. For the next 10 years, father and son found themselves embroiled in ongoing conflicts, with lawsuits flying back and forth and their familial bond shattered. With emotions running high, the fallout between father and son left deep scars. But as things calmed down, a new fight was about to start in the courtroom: the legal war between father and son. Following Jr.'s dismissal, Sr. took things a step further by suing his own son, opening another contentious chapter in their publicized feud. Even with Jr. off the show, Sr. found reasons to continue the fight, further distancing himself from his family. Getting Jr. out of the business was complicated by the fact that he held a 20% stake in the company, a stake he was not ready to relinquish. Since Jr. was no longer part of the business, Sr. was determined not to let him retain any control. This led them to court, where father and son bitterly contested each other in a legal battle for the ages, watched closely by the public. The courtroom drama was intense, with each side presenting strong arguments. The dispute reached the Supreme Court of New York, turning the courtroom into a battleground. Sr., who initiated the lawsuit, argued that his company, Orange County Choppers Holdings, Inc., had the right to buy out his son's shares, aiming to cut him off completely. He even sent Paul Jr. a letter stating his intent to exercise a stock option to buy Jr.'s share for $500,000 while also seeking an additional $1 million in damages. This move seemed like a strategy to minimize losses for Jr. while forcibly removing him from the company. Initially, the court sided with Sr., mandating that Jr. sell his 20% stake. However, Jr. was not one to give up easily. He contested the ruling, arguing that the buyout option was invalid. Despite strong arguments from Sr.'s lawyers to uphold the initial decision, all 4 judges in the appellate court ruled unanimously in Jr.'s favor, stunning all who followed the proceedings. Although Jr. won this legal battle, the strain on his relationship with his father was immense, and they did not communicate for a decade. When one door closes, another opens. This adage rang true for Paul Jr. After his tumultuous split from his father's company, he faced a dilemma due to a non-compete clause that barred him from starting a similar business for a year. Once that year passed, Paul Jr. began to plan his next steps. By April 2010, rumors circulated, as reported by TMZ, that he was planning to start his own motorcycle business directly competing against his father's enterprise. These rumors gained traction when Paul Jr. launched his new venture, Paul Jr. Designs, bringing on board a former employee from his dad's company, Cody Connolly. This new business venture wasn't just a fresh start, it reignited new controversies, drawing more attention to Paul Jr.'s life and setting the stage for new drama. After stepping away from the limelight in a not-so-great manner back in 2008, Paul Teutul Jr. made a comeback with a new show, American Chopper, Senior vs. Junior. This show hit the screens on August 12, 2010, and it aired on the TLC network. The series highlighted the intense rivalry between Orange County Choppers, run by his dad, Paul Teutul Sr., and Paul Jr.'s own venture, Paul Jr. Designs. The show lasted for 4 seasons, spanning from 2010 through 2012. Over these 2 years, father and son went head-to-head, not just professionally, but sometimes the competition got personal, leading to quite a few family squabbles. Sadly, the show didn't catch much fire with viewers, and by 2012, it came to an end. When the show wrapped up, the strain between Paul Jr. and his dad grew even more, and their talks became rare. But Paul Jr. wasn't done sharing their story. On November 7, 2017, he released his first book called The Build, Designing My Life of Choppers, Family, and Faith. This book was a big deal for followers of the father-son drama because it promised to give the lowdown straight from Paul Jr. Even though the TV show had shown quite a bit of their heated interactions, it turns out there was more drama behind the scenes. In an interview following the book's launch, Paul Jr. said the book was originally supposed to come out in the fall of 2016, but it got pushed back. He mentioned that the delay worked out for the best because by the time the book came out, their family feud was getting a lot of attention, his bike shop was all set up, and people were eager to hear what he had to say. After the fame and family disputes, Paul Jr. faced a turning point. Could he find his own way while dealing with the past? The struggles behind the fame. In this book, Paul Jr. gets real about how being thrown into fame affected his relationship with his dad. Although it brought a lot of challenges, he mentions there were some positives, like how it pushed him to work incredibly hard. From the get-go, he clears up any confusion about whether their on-screen fights were staged. He confirms right in the beginning of his book that yes, the drama was real and their rocky relationship was tough for both viewers and them to handle. Early on in the book, Paul Jr. takes readers through his early years and what it was like growing up with a dad he describes as a monster. He shares that his dad struggled with alcohol, which caused a lot of tension at home. This wasn't a new issue in the family, as Paul Jr. also talks about how his dad had a rough childhood himself, dealing with an alcoholic mother. Understanding this background helped Paul Jr. eventually find some level of compassion for his dad's tough ways. Writing about these tough times was emotionally draining for Paul Jr. He describes revisiting these memories as dredging up a past he'd rather forget, but recognizes as a part of his story. He explains in the book, "It's hard talking about the bad times with my dad because, at the end of the day, he is my dad. I love him and I've always wanted just a normal dad-son relationship. Despite the hardships, there's a glimpse of hope." Paul Sr. realized the toll his addiction was taking on his family and decided to get help. After going through rehab and lots of therapy, he managed to build a somewhat better relationship with Paul Jr. Their bonding improved, especially over their shared love for bikes. They even worked together on an old bike, which gave them a chance to talk through their issues and start healing. However, this was before their public disputes, so it's hard to say how deep their reconciliation went. Also talks about the influence of his siblings, Mikey, Danny, and Kristen, and his mom, Paulina, who were significant in his life and career. He opens up about his Christian faith too, noting it as a cornerstone in his life and a guiding force in his decisions. The book also delves into his time at Orange County Choppers, where he once thought he'd eventually take over. He shares the heartache of realizing that wouldn't happen, expressing how emotionally draining it was to work under his dad's shadow. The moment he was let go from the company felt more like a relief than a setback. The title, The Build, reflects not just on building bikes, but building his life. Paul Jr. praises his wife Rachel Teutul for her support throughout the writing process, helping him keep the facts straight and providing emotional support. For Paul, this book was an opportunity to let everyone into his world, hoping to foster a deeper understanding of his life's ups and downs. At Paul Jr. Designs. They keep busy making unique motorcycles and stylish clothes. Some standout motorcycles from Paul Jr. Designs include the Faro, Cadillac, Sacred, March of Dimes, and New York Yankees models, just to name a few. Paul Jr., a talented designer, has expanded his creativity beyond motorcycles to include work on movies and video games. He's also taken on different projects like designing a community dog park, a kids' playground set, and a special 10th anniversary Coleman barbecue grill. The company actively collaborates with Paul Sr.'s business and has welcomed many former employees to their team. On the personal front, Paul Jr.'s life is pretty steady. In 2010, he married Rachel Beaster, his true love, and they both appeared on the popular TLC series Say Yes to the Dress. Their happy marriage brought them a son named Hudson in 2015, and by 2020 they fulfilled their dream of buying a home on Long Beach Island. With his successful business, Paul Jr. has built up a net worth of about $2 million, and his future looks incredibly bright. Was Paul Teutul Jr.'s fallout with his father just a family feud, or was there something more sinister at play behind the scenes? Could there be things that have yet to come to light? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.